Welcome to Our Anxiety Connection. I'm your host, Wendy Leeds, and I am so glad you're here because I have something really special to share with you. If you're struggling, if you're going through a tough time, especially through these holidays, if you've been waiting for a sign or some kind of miracle to happen in your life, something that will bring some light into the darkness, have I got a story for you. Years ago, I admired this beautiful plant my mother-in-law kept in her guest bathroom. It was a gorgeous plant with deep green leaves, and it just always looked spectacular. And because I admired it so much, eventually she was nice enough to give me a cutting from that plant. Well, I took that cutting home, I planted it in a red pot, and over the months, I watched that little cutting grow into a beautifully green, healthy plant that looks great in my bathroom. And I've got to tell you, that was actually a miracle of its own, because the people who know me will tell you, I'm not a gardener. I do not have a green thumb. That is for sure. But I'm happy to say I kept that plant for years on the top shelf in my bathroom. And every time I reached up to water it or to take care of it, I always thought of my wonderful mother-in-law, who I loved. I just adored my mother-in-law, and I admired her deeply. For me, that plant was a living connection to her. And when she visited, I was really proud to show it off to her. See, Mom, it's still alive. I have not killed it yet. Anyway, I loved that plant when she was alive. But after my mother-in-law died, I treasured that plant. It was, as far as I was concerned, irreplaceable. I could never get another cutting from her plant. And for a long time, it was fine where it was. It looked great, no worries. But a couple years later, one day, out of the blue, I noticed that some of those leaves had begun to wilt. I panicked because I did not want to lose this living connection to my mother-in-law. So I did everything I could think of. I watered it, I moved it, I fed it. Between you and me, I talked to it, but none of that worked. One by one, those leaves turned a pale yellow, and then they shriveled and turned brown and dropped off until there was nothing left in that pot but a thick brown stem. I was heartbroken at the loss, but I refused, because I'm stubborn, I refused to give up on that lifeless looking stump. I continued to water it, I kept it in the sun, and I watched for any sign of green on that stump, but nothing changed. And every time I went into the bathroom and saw that plant, I was reminded yet again that I had failed. And even worse, and this is the hardest part for me, I'd lost that living connection to my mother-in-law, and I was never getting it back. This was something I could not replace. As I remember, because this was a while ago, this went on for weeks. It might have even been months. And for all that time, I watched and I waited, hoping against hope that something would change. But in my heart, I knew it was impossible. The stem was dead. Even a non-gardener knew that that brown stem was not coming back unless I had some kind of miracle. And no doubt about it, that's what I needed, a miracle. Now, maybe I'm talking to you today. Maybe you can identify in some way with this feeling of loss or failure or discouragement or sadness. Maybe you've been through a tough time or you're going through something right now. Maybe you're struggling, especially these holidays can be tough for people. And as personally, as a 3-time cancer survivor, believe me, I know what it's like. to go through tough times. I know what it's like to hope against hope for some little sign that there are going to be better days ahead, that some good is going to come your way at last. If you could just get through this, maybe better times are ahead. Maybe you're just hoping, and I know what this is like. Maybe you're just hoping for a glimmer of light in the darkness. That's how I felt watching that small, dark stump. Something, anything. But the truth was, this was out of my hands, and so much of our life is. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do about your circumstances except hope. And to be honest, I was really running out of hope for that plant. I needed a miracle, and one seemed to just not be coming. Well, eventually I decided enough's enough. I'm tortured myself with this dead plant for long enough, not getting a miracle no matter how hard I hoped or tried. Time to throw in the towel. So late one afternoon, I just screwed up my courage. I knew what had to be done. I went up to the bathroom. I lifted that red pot off the shelf and headed out to the backyard to dump the contents of the pot, dirt, stem, and all, into the compost pile, trying to ignore the pain in my heart. Anyway, as I was heading outdoors, I actually took a moment and looked down into the pot, something I hadn't done in weeks because I always had to look up to water the pot and up to check on the stump. But when I looked down, I stopped dead in my tracks because what I saw was completely unexpected, an unexpected miracle. The stem was still brown, it was still dead, hadn't changed a bit. But you know what? There on the other side of the pot, where I had never bothered to look, there was the tiny tip of green poking up through the dirt. New life growing, nowhere near the lifeless brown stem I'd been watching for weeks. Turns out I'd been watching for my miracle in the wrong place. My miracle showed up unexpectedly when I wasn't looking, where I wasn't looking. And if I hadn't looked carefully that afternoon, I would have missed it entirely. Let me say that again. I almost missed a miracle in my life because I was too busy looking in the wrong place. So focused on that dead brown stump that I hadn't noticed the new life, the new growth on the other side of the pot, the miracle that was peeking up through the soil. Not when or where or how or what I expected. Something better. And what that plant taught me was that miracles don't always follow the rules. And they certainly don't happen the way we expect, or we just focus on commanding that must happen this way. No, miracles have rules all their own, and they show up in the most unexpected ways and at the most unexpected times. And the problem is that often we limit our vision and our expectations to just this narrow definition of how we decide things must be and how things must look, or the number must be before we're happy or satisfied or even okay. And that limited focus can mean we miss the other miracles that show up in our lives all the time. We miss the magic and the abundance that's all around of us. If only we would remember to look for them. I believe miracles are happening in our lives all the time. I believe we're surrounded by possibilities, opportunities, abundance, and yes, miracles. But we're often so busy looking in the wrong places, looking at the dead stump, that we're so busy looking at the thing that isn't working and waiting for our miracle to show up on schedule and be just what we imagine, that we miss the true miracles of life. Now, just imagine what would happen if we decided to open our hearts and our minds to the possibility that good, that miracles are showing up in our life all the times in all sorts of ways. What if we decided today, right now, to be open to all sorts of possibilities, to stop limiting our vision of what might happen in our lives? And we decided, instead of spending time looking at the dead stump, that we started looking for some small, everyday miracles, the kind that show up all the time around us. Because believe me, they're there. But so often we forget to look for those tiny, wonderful things that pop up unexpectedly. Here's what I believe. I believe no matter how dark the day is, no matter what we're going through, I believe there are still small miracles, little comforts, little joys in our lives every day. And instead of focusing on the pain or the loss or the sorrow or the sadness, that dark stem of fear, instead of focusing there, what if we decided to look around and see and cherish all the moments of peace and joy and love? Recently, I heard someone say, "Whoa, what a day this is. I started by opening two amazing gifts this morning." And then they laughed and said, "I opened my eyes." Yes, of course. Opening your eyes is a miracle. Think about it. You open your eyes to another day, another chance to see the sunrise. Well, maybe you don't want to see the sunrise, but to drink another cup of tea, for me to eat peanut butter, to pat your dog, your cat, to speak to your grandchildren, to smell baking cookies, to sit after a long day of working, to have a moment of just looking out at your garden. These are miracles we take for granted because we're looking in the wrong place. All right. Now, maybe you've convinced yourself over the years that miracles aren't possible for you, for someone like you. Just not going to happen. But, I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve something wonderful, unexpected. But I would like to tell you what we both know. You are so worthy of not only of a miracle, but of every good thing life has to offer. We both are. And no matter what others have told you or you're telling yourself today, I'm telling you, the truth is you deserve miracles. We all do. And and they will, when those miracles show up, we have to remember to say thank you. Offering gratitude, being grateful for every good thing that comes into our lives, reminds us of the truth that life is good most of the time. And when we say thank you, it welcomes more of that goodness into our lives. Gratitude is like a magnet for miracles. So say thank you 1,000 times a day. And finally, and most importantly, that plant taught me never give up. Never, ever, ever give up on you or your circumstances. Because I didn't give up on that plant, it's still on the top shelf in my bathroom, and it's green and it's strong and it's healthy. And today, more than a decade later, I still have a living connection to my mother-in-law, someone I treasured in life. I still have a treasure because I didn't give up. No matter what you're going through, no matter what challenges you're facing, you cannot give up. Believe me, I know about getting through dark days. I know about fear. I know sadness, and I know the feeling of just wanting to quit. But let that plant be a powerful reminder of what can happen when we decide to hang in there, to stick with it. One thing I know for certain is change is coming. You can't stop it. But the good news is you have no idea what kind of miracle could be waiting for you just ahead. You have no idea how your life could change for the better in an instant. You have no idea what good could already be on its way to you. So the plant tells us all you have to do is hold on until the miracle shows up. It may not look the way you think, it may not be the way you think, but I promise you, there are miracles ahead for every single one of us. Now, if you're struggling with your anxiety and if you're looking for answers, I am so proud to say I'm offering a mini course called Why You're Anxious and What to Do About It. I know, I always laugh when I say it because I love the title. Anyway, I wanted to tell you that Lucille's been taking the course. She got in touch with me recently and she said, she's been taking the course, sharing the course with her husband, Mark, which I think is a fabulous idea to do the course with someone else. It just makes it more fun and you can share the course and what you're thinking. But I wanted to share that Mark said to Lucille, boy, as he was going through the course, boy, I wish someone had told us this a long time ago. And Mark is so right. Knowing about your anxiety gives you the power. The more you know about your anxiety, the better you're going to be able to deal with it. And this course is about you. It's about what makes you anxious, and it's about how to best begin the process of dealing with it. I'm proud to say we've kept the costs low, and Module 1 is open to everyone. Just go to wendyleeds.com/course and give it a try. See if it's something that you think might help you, because I think it will. Anyway, I left the link in the show notes for your convenience. I hope you'll give it a try. Until we're together again, I wish you peace, joy, and love. As always, thank you for listening. See you on the next episode.